Watched by more people than any other network. ABC.
From KXTV 10, this is News 10 at 11.
This has become one of the biggest partying holidays around. People get dressed up and do a bit of drinking. But tonight, the Highway Patrol is throwing a serious scare into people who party too hardy on Halloween weekend. I'm Dick Cable in for Dan Elliott tonight. The CHP flooded the streets of Sacramento tonight with extra patrol cars and a sort of a DUI mobile, a processing center on wheels. People suspected of being drunk drivers were rounded up and brought to a DUI command post near Madison and Interstate 80.
They'll be handcuffed to this bench over here, and then they'll be transported in groups to the county jail. Now that saves the officers about 2 hours per arrest. So instead of waiting in line, waiting for a nurse at the county jail, waiting to process, that officer's back on the road looking for more people that are intoxicated and driving.
And here's why the CHP is targeting drunk driving. In 1993, they made 11 arrests on Halloween weekend. Last year, that doubled to nearly 24. That could double again this year as the DUI mobile leaves officers free to make more arrests during the night. Detectives in Solano County arrested 2 men for a murder there, and it looks like it's a case of domestic violence. This afternoon, they carried out bags of evidence that they say could pin the murder of Debbie Sammons on her estranged husband, Charlie Sammons. Police believe Sammons and his friend, Robert Bacon, raped, sodomized, and murdered Debbie Sammons. Family members say that Debbie Sammons had gone to see her husband about financial matters. They also think she knew that she might run into trouble.
She had been talking to somebody and made a will out.
We was just told that this morning, and they're trying to get that.
But see, she wouldn't even tell us.
It's a total shock. I'm totally, you know, just, I couldn't believe it.
Police say that Charlie Sammons and his friend Robert Bacon will be charged with murder. They also say that another arrest is likely. Tonight, the widow of the slain soldier killed at by the Fort Bragg's sniper is speaking out. As Anthony Wilson tells us now, the woman has nothing but sympathy for the suspect and only loving memories of her husband.
He loved his men, loved the people he worked with. It wasn't a job, it was a calling, and he took it very seriously. And
it's hard for Diane Badger to talk about her husband's death. Major Steve Badger was shot and killed at Fort Bragg this morning. The bullet was apparently fired by a sniper. Fort Bragg officials have a suspect. He is another soldier from the base.
My heart goes out to him. I mean, I think this really must have been a troubled person, and I hope that he can get the help that he needs and, you know, to be able to go on with his life. And it's not for me to judge.
This morning's shooting ended a storybook romance. Diane and Steve met 2.5 years ago at a singles party in Washington, D.C.
We started talking and dancing. I can remember the song that was playing. It was Unforgettable by Natalie Cole. And we danced and talked the whole rest of the night and fell in love, and the rest, as they say, is history.
6 weeks later, they were married, and they blended their families, forming what Diane calls the Badger Bunch. Now she's finding strength from the love of family and friends.
I haven't been left alone since this morning, and it's just a wonderful feeling of love and hugs, and I'm mostly going on hug power.
And we have word tonight that 2 other men injured by the Fort Bragg sniper fire are from here in the West. One man from Fontana, California. He is Private First Class Todd Michelle. The other is Specialist John Griffin of Las Vegas, Nevada. Both of those men are listed in good condition. Another huge win for women who have had breast implants. A jury in Reno today found Dow Chemical liable for faulty silicone implants. Charlotte Malum, who's seen here, blames her ill health on leaky silicone implants. The jury ordered Dow to pay the woman close to $4 million. The same jury will decide on Monday how much the company should pay in punitive damages. Dow Chemical says it's appealing to the Nevada Supreme Court. Across the country, attorney Johnny Cochran gave Harvard law students a prediction O.J. Simpson will win any civil suits filed by the Brown and Goldman families. He also defended his use of racism in the Simpson trial, telling the students that race matters in almost everything done in this country. It has been a nagging question now for more than a century. What really happened to the notorious outlaw Jesse James? Researchers believe that they have finally settled the debate, and as News 10's George Warren reports, the news comes as a surprise to one San Joaquin County man.
Legendary outlaw Jesse James died at the hands of a fellow gang member in 1882. He was buried in his mother's yard in Missouri. That is the official story.
According to the family, he was... They buried somebody else in his place.
Take it from this Jesse James, a distant relative of the Missouri outlaw. The James family tells a different story.
And he was supposed to have been at my grandfolks' place just right about the turn of the century. An old man with a long beard and the whole bit, you know.
Disputed facts like that prompted researchers last summer to dig up the remains of the man supposed to be Jesse James. DNA testing of scraps of bone and strands of hair led them to believe the body in this grave is indeed Jesse James. So today, in a horse-drawn hearse, Jesse James made what should be his final journey.
Like typical Missouri weather.
The Jesse James who lives in San Joaquin County watched the procession with some amusement tonight. He's always had fun with the name, he says. Never spent too much time wondering what really happened to the outlaw he was named for.
But I'm just, you know, kind of shocked that they'd spend that kind of money going through all that. For what? Who the heck cares?
Well, the DNA tests are still preliminary. The final results won't be known until early next year. But the immediate descendants of Jesse James didn't want to wait any longer. They chose to have the funeral today. After his second funeral, Dick, perhaps Jesse James can finally rest in peace.
Thank you, George Warren. Well, some people in Sacramento thought that this was a perfect night to bring back the dead.
She speaks, and I her words do write.
This was a skit right from the Tales of the Crypt at the Old City Cemetery in Sacramento, all to observe Halloween tonight. Folks attending the moonlight tour at the cemetery were treated to spooky scenes played out by actors, then a tour of the cemetery, which of course included a look at the tombstones. The cemetery offers tours year-round, so except for the date, it's not that unusual. Harry Stockman.
No, and our weather's not going to be all that unusual this weekend. I think you'll like the balance of the weather. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, skies will be partly cloudy, the temperature about 53 degrees, and we expect that the next several days the temperatures are going to start cooling off. When are we going to get our first raindrops? Well, we'll talk about that in just a moment.
All right, we'll be right there. And tonight across the country, Disney has an unexpected problem on its hands. Parents say that the company that cherishes kids has sold out with its latest film. And you know this face? Bet your kids do. You'll both meet a big Friday night TV favorite later on News 10. Plus, a carnival party that made wishes come true for some Valley kids as News 10 continues for Northern California.